And one really important aspect in studying flute at WVU is your lesson notes. It's a really good idea to make sure that you do your lesson notes sooner than later, and absolutely do not let them pile up. I'm going to be honest, it usually takes me about 2 hours to do lesson notes because I'm constantly pausing, replaying, stopping to write, and I'm thinking very methodically about my lessons and assessing what's going on. So just, know that it's going to take you some time to do these each week, but it's really beneficial. It's worthwhile. You're going to get way more out of your lessons than if you were to not do these. So if we look at JC's lesson notes, JC always wrote really great lesson notes. She talked about what was going on at the very beginning, like what were her main topics of her lesson and what they focused on. Then she was having some personal issues, so she worked on that. She talked about that. She talked about getting back in shape and working on her vibrato. And then we go into the various specific details of the piece. So this is like a quick recap of what happened in the lesson. And now we're getting into very specifics of what she needs to do as she's practicing, what she needs to focus on. And at the very end of her lesson notes, you have her personal observations. This is something that we all need to do. So JC does a great job of writing her self-observations and her self-assessment. I personally put these together in like one category, but you can separate them however you would like to. What's important is that you are writing specifically what is happening in the lesson, what changes you directly need to make in your music, and then you're also marking what you're doing with your music, what you're doing with your body, what you like, what you don't like, what changes you notice, what specific changes make drastic changes in your sound, things like that. Same thing if you look at Juan's lesson notes. He has, I don't know did JC do this? I think she did. Yeah, so it's important to always have the date and also the piece that you're working on. So Juan was working on 2 pieces for this lesson, and you can see he broke his up piece by piece. And then you can see he also has specific topics that he was working on within the piece. That helped him organize his lesson notes a little bit more easily. And then once again, we have a bunch of self-observation at the end. You can see that he's noticing where he's improving. You can see what he doesn't want to have happen in the future. And you can see that he is taking the time to give himself some love because he's improving, and that's important for us to see as well. And then let's just go over to one more. Let's go over to Katie's real quick. So once again, Katie has her lesson notes. Katie's an undergrad, so she noted that her lesson was with Professor. And then we have the date. So again, Katie was working on 2 pieces in her lesson. She has an overall idea of like what's her main takeaway from this lesson. She knows what she needs to do as her main takeaways for Muchinsky, and she also has her main takeaways for Poulenc. And then for here, she has her general notes, her training of what she needs to do in her personal practice. And then same thing, she breaks up her like practice elements based on the piece for both pieces. And then her personal observations as well. So once again, what I love to see is when you have positive things to say, when you can see that you're proud, you can see that you're making changes and you're making improvement. So, this is how your this is how your lesson notes should go. They take a lot of time. You have been warned, but they're totally worth it. And also be prepared for professor to ask you to share your lesson notes with other students. since we all work on pieces at different times, it's really helpful for you to take super good detailed lesson notes. So that way, when someone else is working on a piece, they can read your lesson notes, and it's kind of like they've had a quick mini lesson on that piece before having a lesson. And so that also saves time in our study as well. So again, hopefully this is pretty self-explanatory. Definitely take the time to go through. I would read through everyone's lesson notes, see how they format theirs. You're going to find a lot of similarities, but everyone does something just different enough that you might see something that would stick and work better for you.